Good morning. I thought today I would do a quick run around AIMS while also showing what I'm going to be doing with content. I'll probably update one of the workflows too. We'll see how this goes. What I'm going to be doing over the coming weeks, now that I've got AIMS, this storyboard up and running and finished and virtually licensed and ready to go to you all, is making content, getting back to doing that. And what I'm going to be doing is working on various of my stage plays, musicals, books. And what I'll be doing is the first scenes of each, just to get it to a point, probably up to the first dialogue stages of each. Because where we're at with AI at the moment is probably around the 1980s of filmmaking. And what that means in AI filmmaking terms for me, and why I stage everything I'm trying to do at that level and don't really try and go beyond it at this stage, is because it's just too much hard work. And that means if you look at 1980s movies, they're not very well acted quite often. They're below quality footage quite often. And yeah, so I'm more concerned with telling story, than I am with making perfect looking scenes. I want to capture mood and emotion, but I care less about 4K at this stage, especially since I'm on low VRAM, and especially since we're going into a time when hardware is going to get really expensive by the looks of it. So the more you can do with cheaper equipment, or cheap, it's going to be expensive still, I think, the better. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing, and this is new to me, I don't know a damn thing about filmmaking, and I need to learn, and I've been watching some things to try to understand it, because this is what everyone's going to run into. Firstly, AI slop and trailers are quite easy to make. AI slop trailers and music videos are quite easy to make, and they just automatically do it themselves virtually now. Just prompt it and you're done. But you try making a movie that people are actually going to be interested in. Firstly, you're going to run into the problems of people going, that looks like AI, which I don't think we can avoid that at this stage, maybe in a couple of years. And the other problem is telling story, and human interaction and dialogue are not very good in AI at the moment, and that's why we're seeing trailers and music videos come out and people will think that's amazing. But the only people who think it's amazing are the people who make it. What we've got to try to do is impress the people who don't use AI but watch TV, and that's most of the planet, I reckon, by now. And a lot of the planet still watch TV on a black and white small portable, I bet. You know, go to India and you'll probably find people watching it on all sorts of old archaic things. So I'm wittering on again, and I do this, but I chop most of it out. I might not this time. But yeah, so keep that in mind. Keep your expectations not low. You've got to push yourself, but keep them in a place that are realistic. Unless you want to spend 5 weeks working on one video clip for 3 seconds that no one's going to watch. I mean, no one's going to watch this, but I'm just going to be satisfied because that's the other thing, actually. It's another psychological thing is do this for you. Do it to your standards, because the other thing I'm seeing is people get rug pulled by someone going, oh, that looks rubbish. And then immediately you're in this fight with yourself, your own feelings of self-worth and all that sort of stuff. And I've had years as a musician and realised that some people are going to hate your stuff, some people are going to like your stuff, most people won't give a rat's ass about your stuff, but they'll go, that was really good. And they just won't have an opinion. And that's probably where we're placed, most of us. I'm not expecting to be the next Ridley Scott. If I am, it'll freak me out. But anyway, what I do know is I understand what I'm trying to achieve, and I understand what can be achieved, and I understand how to share that with other people. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So you're going to get a lot more content information. That's 5 minutes jibber jabber from me. Yeah, you can click on the video topics to get past all that. So let's go. What I'm going to do today is show you how I use aims, this storyboarding. So if that bores the hell out of you, you could do the same thing with CSVs. I've talked about that in another video yesterday. These are the columns I use. You could easily use these in a CSV to track what you're doing and use Python scripts with ComfyUI API, which is how Python scripts connect to Comfy. And I will talk about that down the track. I'm not in a rush to do it yet. If people want it, you know, hassle me for it, then I might be more willing. Otherwise, I'll just assume not many of you are quite up to that yet. But I could be wrong. But yeah, so use the CSV, get your info together and track your shots, because you're really going to have to if you're trying to make narrative. Now, what I do is I work to two storyboard types, and I've said this in the other video, so I won't go on about it too much. I do image storyboard, where I put the idea together, but this is also the base images that I will then use to drive the videos. And you can see I kind of started with different ideas and I changed them, and I tend to keep the storyboard software for the best ofs. So that one there, actually, let's talk about this for a moment, because it's actually quite important. That one there, I keep all my stuff in a folder on an SSD drive, and I name it by shot. So it's kind of easy, it's managed. So as you can see, we've got the first opening shot numbered as such, and all I've got in my storyboard is these 4 images for it, and over in the video section, 3 different videos, and I'm going with that one. For now, this is opening my story, and but in the back end of that, I've got a few things. Firstly, notes, where I've been trying to get something done and working out, and if I need to refer back to it, how I got to it, they're there. So it's a note dump in there, and that's named GSL. As you can see, Project GSL. This is Great Southern Land. I'll keep punting this. It's my book about travelling around Australia on a bicycle, nearly dying quite a few times, and the experiences I went through. I don't know if it's interesting, but I'm turning it from a book into a video, using it for that. I've got quite a few I'll be doing. So Great Southern Land, that's how I've named it. So the first shot, Great Southern Land, section, which is for now cold open. The stone cold open. Where was I? In there, I just throw stuff in, throw it down, quick rounds here, you know, all the things I've done trying to get to a point where I go, yeah, that'll do, okay, I'll stick with that. Even look at that stupidity. That's me, because I think I used Wanimate for this one. Let's have a quick look. Wanimate, there you go. Yeah, I used Wanimate. So what I did was basically film myself looking pretty ill there, actually. Film myself lying down right just here with my camera. The thing you quickly learn about yourself is you can't act for shit either. I cannot act. Musicians generally can't. It's just a thing. So yeah, what you got here is me trying to act like I'm suffering. I won't tell you why. I guess that kind of worked. What I ended with was looking at the camera, and that didn't happen in this one, but it was a better rendition than some of the other ones, which I didn't really like. Oh, I don't know, actually, that's pretty good. Feels a bit more real. Okay, well, see, that's why I keep it. There you go, and I'll look at the camera, which I wanted to do. I might change that. Now, I use a star system in aims, which allows me to go, this is the one I prefer right now. So I know where it's at. So I know my choices. And these numbers here just show how many are there. So I've got 3 that I've kept so far. What was the other one? I realise I might be talking over the top of the thing about LTX. You got my heavy breathing. That's really funny. Yeah, the thing about LTX, I'll have to go back over that, and I'll I'll use Vibe Voice to talk over the top of that if I've messed it up. I saved the version with the audio in on the video because what I discovered was, let me have just a quick listen. I don't like that one. I don't like the audio. I won't use it at all, but it might do things that I kind of go, oh, I like that riff. I might use that. So there's things that's why I leave the audio in. I don't plan to use it at all. And sorry, I forgot that I can't hear the audio and you will, so I'll have to mess with that. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, discussing my bad acting. Oh, another thing you'll notice there is something I use occasionally called Shotcut. That is a free to use. I use Shotcut, Reaper, and DaVinci Resolve for all my video editing work. I wish I hadn't opened that now. You can use Shotcut's got a lot of filters. It's very useful for quick jobs, and it's open source, free to download. DaVinci Resolve is brilliant for colorization, brilliant for doing professional level final shots. I've shared about it before, I'll share about it in the future. And Reaper, only because I know it and I'm familiar with it from music and from music production, but it's very good for doing a quick video storyboard. And that and I do that using the images, so I tend to go to Reaper for the test storyboard, but I'm actually leaning more and more into using DaVinci Resolve for that too now. If I wanted to add music, I'd go to Reaper and storyboard the image up and add the music or narration. Anyway, assets, I haven't really got any in this one yet. Assets are separate to the storyboards, so obviously I build the storyboard up. The other thing about shots is you can import CSV, so I quite often will work with CSV while I plan out the shoot, and I do start with a plan of the entire story in a video form, an hour long or whatever, and I have shared a quite a long video on how I do that and how I use AI to help me, and I've shared that in the paid Patreon, but I'm going to do a bit more about that as we go, because I've got quite a few stories I've got to put together, so I'll share more on building scripts and how I use AI to help me build the story arcs, and then I use the CSV. You could do the whole thing, but you know, I think I'm a few years out from finishing a 2-hour movie or 1-hour movie yet, so I'm just going to do the start of each of them, all of them, and see which ones I like and jump back and forth between. Because that's the other great thing about this. We're breaking the rules of filmmaking now, and we're walking new ground. And traditionally, making films, you had to have it very well planned out and hire all the equipment and hire all the staff and hire all the catering and get all the union lined up and all the insurance lined up and blah, blah, blah. And now we don't have to do that. We can just jump back and forth between shots anytime we like. I finished that one last night. So yeah, and I might change it. I did a couple in there, you know, so we can jump around doing all sorts of things. Check this one. Now this is interesting, I've started doing this. From all my shots from the travel around Australia, I've got photos from incidents, and that's actually a real photo right there, and the rest isn't. That is the scene before where I ended. This is a terrible shot. Sorry, I've got to stop talking over. This is a terrible shot, but the idea is good, and I just got it close to what I wanted and then moved on. And that's another thing to get in a good habit, because you're not going to get perfect every time. But there's a lot that works in this shot, and there's a lot that doesn't. And you can see what I'm doing. First frame, last frame. Most of these, that was one animate. First frame, last frame. The opening scenes, it comes out here on the map inside the train, and we're first scene of me in a way that I'm going to start kind of interacting with the camera. So that's a really good opening. We're going to pad this lot out quite a bit more. I think there'll be time, but actually at this stage what I'll do is I'll take all of these, piece together how I think it should start, see how I feel watching it, maybe take a week off to do something else, come back and look at it and go from there. But I'll share all that kind of process as we go. Assets are really just, I have 3 types: character, location, other. And the only thing I'll be using these for, but you can include in other audio and video, but I don't, and it's not really developed fully. I thought I'd leave assets to develop further as in new updates, as people go, oh, I need this and I need that, because I wasn't really sure what to put here, but I knew what I needed, and I needed my characters, and I need first shot location, and really just single shots of things. And then this is very important stuff when you're first starting your story. Let me show you one of that. I'll show you the Highwayman. Characters and locations. As you can see in here, you know, I kind of developing the idea right at the beginning. You're starting by getting your characters, you know, and going, does this guy quite capture the feel? Yes, he does, actually. And then this guy captured the feel for my hero. This guy didn't quite, but I actually quite liked it. I've got these moments in pubs, set in the 1600s. This woman I've still got to work on. You know, so there's a lot you're capturing. And those assets, you can come back here and look at your assets and go, oh yeah, your emotion holds into them, it ties into them, and it reminds you of what feeling you're trying to get for this movie or this idea. So it's a very useful bit, but I think it needs a lot more development. Other, just to show you quickly, I was using 3D modeling quite a bit to change camera angles. That's getting less important now. LTX has come out, but it certainly was difficult with WAN. Well, not difficult, it just required modeling to move cameras around with WAN and VACE. And I've got all videos all about that if you want to look at it, all from 2025, go and check it out. So that's the assets page. Less important and yet crucial, because it's the bottom brick of what you're making, and will be useful. And this is all just management stuff. I'll explain it more as I go. And anything important, keeping an eye on your logs just to make sure that's all fine. There's nothing problematic in there, and the routing as well. You know, this is all just management from there onwards. What else? Oh yeah, here's another quite important bit, and we'll have to do a separate video about this, because I think it's going to be crucial to stop people coming back at me if things go wrong. Your projects are all designs. You can check, I'll be updating it more and more, but check documentation, which I will put more and more stuff in there as I get to it. You know, getting started, what is aims, concepts, projects, shots. I've got to update all this a bit. You know, I rushed it to get it done, but it's all that's accessible from help drop down. Your licenses stuff is in there if you want to swap out QT, if you're into that kind of thing. That's the themes. Backing up, very, very important. Now there is what there is I do need to talk about is the migration tool. On my GitHub is migrating to aims, and that's a migration tool. There's a load of info there. I need to find some time to check it and confirm it's all tickety boo, but it should give you the ability, with a bit of fiddliness, to import any of your media you like. And what you import it into is a particular format, which is data, logs, media. And what you'll have in there is data is your shots DB, is the database tracking everything. What I include is certain things like shot mapping. So shot mapping tells you the folder and the shot name, and you can use this to migrate out, or even possibly migrate in, or fix a broken setup or whatever. So there's some important stuff in here. The saves are backups of what I call AIMS, which is information, a forensic deep dive into the build, and use that to rescue a messed up build or something. Ooh, there's rather a lot there. I'm pretty sure there's a 30-day retention cycle on these, but it backs up stages, and it's that might actually do it manually, automatically. Then you've got the CSV, excuse me, CSV feature, which gives you access to your shots that you've got loaded in there. There's only one in that one. Let me just quickly show you. So all of this is done from here. Save AIMS, the thing I just showed you there, which is for later forensic. Back up the database. I could probably do one button for all of this. Export CSV. And also an important one, export your starred takes. And why did I do starred takes? 25th of the 1st. No, that's the wrong date. That's so I can easily pull them out using Python or something to get at the best ofs that I want to pull out if I want to work on them for whatever reason, or export them or something like that. So I made it so everything's really quite manageable. And there's your shots if you want to look at that. That's an export. And you could use that as a template to import in as well. So you don't need shot ID. You probably want to keep order number. You don't have to though. But yeah, so I tend to, if I was going to plan a big project, but at the moment I'm just working on the fly, and I'm actually realizing that you can go a step at a time with AI. And you know, what I do tend to do is I'll bounce all this down to get a feel for the length and that, and then work on the next scene from that. So scenes follow in feelings, I think, because you're taking someone on a journey of feeling, and you want to kind of catch them into that and hook them into that. So journeys of feelings, and getting, I haven't investigated too much yet, but getting AI to analyze video is going to be an interesting one, to go, yeah, what you need now is a bit of a, you know, bump in the story here, or an incident or a thing, you know, drama. It's all about tension. That's what keeps people hooked in. Stuff I'm learning now, I had to learn it with books. I'm not that great, but book writing, but I've done quite a few of them. I think that'll do for today. I don't think there's much more you need to know about this. Yeah, the rest you can just explore yourself. I'll talk more content. I'll probably shorten this, talk more content. That was just to put a video together today for something to show you AIMS a bit, really. That'll do for now. See you next time.